Hello again, everybody. Long time no see, eh? Now, I bet a lot of you are wondering, what the heck happened to the Cow Pokemon League? Is this even still a thing? And to that I will say, yes, it was still a thing. We finished the regular season, we went through playoffs, the champion has been crowned, and now we are about to start our second season. And that is kind of my purpose here today in going back to record this video, is hopefully to formally conclude our first season and kickstart our second season off with a nice bang. But then that leads to the second common question. So, if CPL was going on the whole time, then what happened to these videos? Well, I will say at first, the reason is that some of our players literally were not playing their games. I will talk a little more about this later on, but after that, then the reason just became that I got lazy. So yeah, that's it. But I do want to properly finish this off, and we can start by taking a look at the final teams of the players. So, you know, our free agents ended in week 6, and some coaches actually did end up using all of their transactions. So let's go ahead and take a look. I will say that it has been a while, so I don't remember everything, but yeah, I think I have a general idea of what coaches did and when. But yeah, I guess first off we have Kyra. I don't think she changed this team since the last video. You know, I did give her a lot of like flack for the Togedemaru in particular, and a lot of other things, but overall this was a pretty solid team, and she piloted it to, you know, pretty good success. And Boo again with the Pinsir team that I believe we covered that transaction last week, so in week 4. And I don't think he changed this team either. It remained to be very hyper offensive. And then we have Ray and the Shadow Zatus. Now this team, I know Ray was like confused on what to do with his last 2 slots for the longest time. I think last time he dropped something or other for like Shaman and something else, and then he dropped something else for like Comfy and Smeargle, and now he dropped the Comfy and Smeargle for the Tornadus. Yeah, no surprise there that Smeargle turned out to be absolutely useless. I still don't think Tornadus is a very good Pokemon, but it'll at least provide him with more utility than the other 2, I think, especially since he's already got Altaria as his fairy. Yeah, Tornadus, it can U-turn around, knock things off. As a good speed tier, kind of a little better than Cart, like at least now he can have something to be faster than and U-turn off of like Latios, for example. So I guess this was a decent trade, and it definitely fits well with his more bulky offense team. Next up we have Sid, who had the absolutely most based free agent of the entire league, dropping the Snover to pick up the Eel. Now, yeah, the Eel, he's a pretty cool guy, you know, mono electric with levitate, so no weaknesses. I don't know what else to say. It's like a flying type switch in, I guess. If you have like no answer to an opposing Tornadus or something, even though he already has the Zapdos. Yeah, very based, that's all I have to say. And the single strikers, Broken Motor decided to drop, I think it was Type No for Barbarical. I didn't really agree with this pick initially. just because type No provides a valuable ghost resist when this team has literally just Urshifu to come in on strong Shadow Balls. I guess he has the Greedent as well, but yeah, I don't know. I guess he was banking on Greedent taking all the hits for him. Barbarical does give him like another win con that he could slap on and cheese someone. So I guess there's that. Overall, not too impactful of a transaction, I guess. Next up, we have Namu and the Polis, who I think he dropped Gastrodon for Hoopa. This was another transaction that I wasn't really sure about. You know, that was the Gastrodon that he literally traded away his Rillaboom to get. So he must have had some value for it. But then he just decides, okay, I don't need it anymore, and then picks up the Hoopa. I guess he's already like dodged Jesus and his Dracovish, along with whatever other strong water types that he might have had to face, and maybe he thought it was safe to drop his water immunity. But Hoopa is kind of an interesting Pokemon. Yeah, I guess it all depends on how well he can use it. Next up we have Random and his Skeld. So he ended up dropping Latias for Kyurem, and I'll talk a little bit more about this trade later. But what I am surprised is that he did not end up making any more FAs. He did not end up getting rid of any of his shitty bottom 4 Pokemon with the 3 transactions and 3 points that he had remaining. Yeah, at that point in the season, Random was in good place to clinch a spot in playoffs, so I felt like he definitely would have liked to improve his team so that he could have something better going to playoffs. But yeah, I guess he thought that the team was fine as is, and yeah, indeed, he had a really, really powerful team. Super top heavy for sure, but it's proved to work for sure. Next up we have Banana Thief, and he ended up dropping Ribombee for Dhelmise. Now, in my opinion, I would say that this was definitely a good trade. He does no longer have Webs, which was huge support for Mawile and Landorus, but he did pick up Dhelmise, which is a much more solid ground answer than he had before. Like, before, any ground type with coverage would threaten him a lot, but now Dhelmise can be sort of a stop to at least some of them. So yeah, this team losing out on Webs is kind of a bummer, but we'll see if he can make it work. Next up, Jesus with his Strange Sand team. I believe this team has stayed the same throughout the entire season. Yes, it has. He has the 5 remaining over here, and yeah, not much to say here. Next up, the Knights of Distortion. So Crimson Flash actually got busy in the middle of the league and decided to stop playing. He was one of our problem children who was stalling the league, and because of that, we weren't getting all the games done on time, and I did not have the standings in a place where I could easily make recap videos and whatnot. So unsurprisingly, he did not end up changing his team either, and actually what we ended up doing was that I would play for him just to have a game, but the opponents would essentially get a forfeit loss or a forfeit win over him, so that the standings are not really impacted by me subbing in. But yeah, next up we have Proj. Now Proj, he did some things. I don't exactly remember what. I think he dropped like Venusaur and Meloetta or something. But most importantly, he actually dropped the Kyurem. And right after Kyurem was dropped, there was a mad scramble for Kyurem. But it ended up, as I said before, Random picked it up first just because he had that very replaceable slot in Latias, along with some convenient extra points lying around, so he could just basically snatch it up. And what I thought was really funny is Proj then ended up using those points to pick up Deoxys Speed, which was which was what Random initially had in this slot. So it looks like in the end, the Smiling Kyogres and the Skeld just used an extra transaction each to essentially trade Deoxys Speed for Kyurem. But outside of that, Proj also picked up Zarude and Absol. Personally, I feel like Absol was definitely like a wasted pick. Even if it's just 2 points, he already has like 2 strong Dark-type attackers, and Absol just seems completely redundant. You know, you could have gotten like 2/3 of a Togedemaru with that 2 points, so yeah, definitely could have been could have been better spent there. But yeah, next up we have Sunny and the Sinnoh Soldiers. The Sinnoh Soldiers decided to do a complete 180 during week 6 or week 5, whenever it was, when they decided to drop their entire Trick Room core and pick up like literally all the fastest Pokemon that were left on the board. Like, this man used to have he still has the Glastrier. I don't remember what he used to have, but he used to have like a bunch of slow Mons and like Mimikyu, Cresselia to set Trick Room for them. But then he decided, you know what, screw that, I'm going fast. And he picked up, let me go through them all, right? Greninja with a base 122, Mega Beedrill with base 145, Noivern with 123, Salazzle with 117, and Superior with 113. I don't know if this was completely intentional or he just wanted like some random Pokemon, but he ended up getting like literally all the speed that was left on the board. Like, nobody else is going to have better speed tiers than this man. But yeah, at that point in the season, he was like kind of finished, so I guess he just wanted to have some fun, which, you know what, fair enough, man. And yeah, moving on, the Lit Wicks, aka the Gen 5 team, coached by Sam. This was our other problem team who did not really play his games on time. So yeah, I think for this one we like ended up extending the games so Sam could play, but eventually I think for the last few games we just gave out forfeit losses. Yeah, kind of unfortunate. Sam, he definitely also could have put more effort into this season, I think. Like, come on, Crocodile was right there, he could have picked it up, but instead he just kept the Crocorock. Yeah, I mean, we ended up finishing the season fine, but I just think it's unfortunate. Moving on though, we have Adrian and his Sylvichu. This team went through all sorts of transactions. I don't remember where exactly we left off, but I'm pretty sure last recap he did not have the Hippowdon. So I believe he dropped Celesteela, Jolteon, and Flygon for Hippowdon, Vaporeon, and Moltres. This is definitely an interesting set of transactions. It's not very often that you see someone drop Celesteela, especially not for like, you know, mid-tier Pokemon. But I guess I can kind of get what he was going for. Like, he already had the bulky Steel and Jirachi, and he wanted to get like a better, more well-rounded bulky core of Pokemon. So he picked Hippowdon, Vaporeon, and Moltres. Definitely 3 Pokemon that are very hard to break through. Overall, I can't definitively say that this was an upgrade, but honestly, getting rid of Jolteon is always an upgrade, so good for you, Adrian. And next up, Moltres' strongest soldier. This team remained the same. It's a good team. I stand by what I said in the rankings. I think it's pretty good. And last, and I guess least, because this team also didn't do anything, the Miami Walreins, which also did not make any free agent picks. Yeah, fair enough, because he's been doing very well, so I guess he felt like his team did not need any improvements. But that about covers all the free agents. Yeah, you can see here are the coaches' finalized teams. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the games of the weeks. Yes, that's right. We're doing multiple. In fact, we are doing all of the games of the weeks. Starting with week 5. So let's get right into it. Week 5, we have Sid versus Namu, or Sylvester. And we can see over here that Sid decided to bring the Zapdos, the Decidueye, the Mew, the Diancie, the Wobbuffet, there he is again, and the Diggersby. Whereas Namu decided to bring the Clefable, the Slowbro, the Arctozolt, Ninetales, Corviknight, and Zygarde. So looks like Namu just decided to bring his standard top 4 along with his Hail Core, which honestly it definitely makes sense. It looks like his Hail Core absolutely demolishes Sid's team. Like just looking at this draft, he doesn't really have any reliable answers, excluding the Electric, because I'm pretty sure he didn't have that when they played. So yeah, Arctozolt definitely going to be a huge threat. Clefable is always good at soft checking Pokemon like Decidueye, like Zapdos. Well, I guess it depends on if the Decidueye is like set up and if the Clef is unaware and whatnot. But he also brought his Mega Bro, which could definitely check the Diancie like once or maybe twice. Can definitely come in on Pokemon like Diggersby, can come in on Empoleon, which Sid opted not to bring, and the Mienshao as well. And then there's Corviknight, which, yeah, Corviknight is generally very good to have in a Diancie matchup. You'll see why later on, as well as against like the Diggersby. And then he brought Zygarde, which I'm not sure what Zygarde will do here. I guess like a Toxic set could work pretty well. But the thing about Toxic is that if you Toxic Mew, then the status gets reflected back onto you. So yeah, not sure. It'll be interesting to see what Namu brings. For Blurg, he brought Zapdos. So I actually happen to know the Zapdos set, but yeah, I won't say anything about it right now. Then there's Decidueye. You know, Decidueye definitely looks very strong here, as there is no Ghost Resist. So Namu, his entire draft, he does have Grimmsnarl, but I guess Sid was just banking on him not bringing it or being able to weaken it. Sid does have Diggersby, which I think is definitely needed when if you don't bring Diggersby, then Arctozolt will always be spamming Bolt Beak, whereas if you have it, then at least you gotta make it think a little bit before it clicks Bolt Beak. Maybe it should click Icicle Crash to catch the Diggersby on the switch. But no, I think it should probably be like Yachi Berry, so that he could at least have some sort of soft answer to the Arctozolt. But yeah, I think other than that, Diggersby doesn't look like too useful here unless he wants to force damage onto the Corviknight or onto the Slowbro. And then he has Mew, so Mew is generally like an everything check. He could use it to answer the Zygarde, which I think he probably will do. And he also brought Diancie, who I assume will set rocks, click Moonblast a few times, and then die. And then there's Wobbuffet, which, you know what? Who knows what Wobbuffet is going to do? Let's just go ahead and see. And I guess we will see right away what it does, because Sid decides to lead with it. So he Encores Namu into the Aurora Veil, which is definitely good for him. Now the Ninetales can't switch out, and Sid is trying to counter the Ninetales. So instead of switching out and taking advantage of the Encore, he decides to counter, but actually he's just going to be able to stall out the Hail turns along with the Aurora Veil turns, and basically just make sure that no Hail and no Veil is up. So that's a very smart strategy. And now he can go into Diggersby, and this Diggersby is free to set up. So Namu does go into his response, which turns out to be the Slowbro. Now this Diggersby has a choice to make. It can either force damage on the Slowbro if Sid needs that damage, or it can just switch out and preserve it. And it looks like Sid decides to stay in and Thunder Punch. So it was Life Orb, actually. It was Life Orb Thunder Punch. So he probably really wanted damage on the Slowbro. And he does force the Mega, actually, which is going to be huge, since now the Slowbro isn't getting Regenerator when switching out. So I assume that he wants this damage either for a Wincon Mew in the back, or more likely for Diancie. So that's one less, I guess, Moonblast or Diamond Storm or whatever the heck switch-in that Namu's got. But the Slowbro actually just kills the Diggersby straight out. So I guess Sid's down 5-6, and he Moonblasts into the Corviknight. Not the greatest. The Corviknight goes for Iron Head, like, I guess trying to catch a stay-in. But Sid just goes into Mew and gets up the T-Spikes. These T-Spikes look like they're going to be big, because Namu's entire team is grounded, especially for the Zygarde. If that Zygarde is some sort of like annoying sub-Coil or sub-Dragon Dance type of set, it's no longer going to be able to pull it off, unless Namu can get the Defog off with Corviknight. So yeah, definitely a very smart play, because if he does go to Corviknight to Defog, then Sid has ways to take advantage of that. But Namu decides to just go into Clefable, or yeah, Clefable on the T-Spikes, then doubling out to Corviknight to get the Defog off right away. So very smart play, but Sid actually catches that and basically locks him into Defog so that he can get a free switch into Zapdos. Now, it looks like Namu wanted to sack the Bro, but Sid, anticipating that, goes for a sub. Now this was also a very smart play, because instead of getting a 1 kill, he actually gets 1 kill and some more damage on whatever else comes in, because nothing can scare out the Zapdos anymore. It's behind a sub. So he does just KO the Slowbro. Now the Ninetales comes out to revenge, but the Zapdos will get a free hit. And somehow it actually looks like it's faster, so it'll get more than 1 free hit. But the Ninetales goes for Blizzard, still breaks the sub after Roost. The Zapdos decides to sub again, so it's just going to sub and Roost stall the Hail. And definitely makes sense, because Blizzard will not be super effective after the Roost, and after stalling out the Hail, the Blizzards will be less accurate. They'll run out of PP eventually. So yeah, Sid is just content playing that game. And then Namu brings in the Zygarde, so definitely going to scare the Zapdos out. But the Mew does come in, so I guess we'll see that this is fully defensive Mew, takes nothing from that crunch. and it throws off a Will-O-Wisp. So this was probably definitely designed to answer like a more offensive Zygarde, like the one that Namu brought here. Namu's going to keep on trying to break through this Mew by boosting through, getting the defense drops, but then the Mew reveals Ice Beam, so he really can't stay in now, and he goes into Corviknight. But the Mew already revealed Wisp. It's just going to keep spreading that burn. Getting Corviknight burn is always nice. Then, I don't know, maybe Diancie can live a hit after a Diamond Storm. But here, yeah, this looks like trouble. The Arctozolt comes in on a double as Sid gets in Wobbuffet, but this Arctozolt actually has Taunt. So that might be kind of problematic. And it's actually Taunt sub. So even if he stayed in and countered on the Bolt Beak, then he would have gotten a sub for free. So definitely super cool bring on Namu's end. And he goes for the Bolt Beak, and it turns out to actually just kill the Wobbuffet straight up. So yeah, he's definitely in a pretty good situation now. Now behind the sub, he gets some more free chip on the Diancie. And now this Diancie definitely isn't going to live any other hit. And he goes into the Corviknight to bounce back the special attack drop. So yeah, Mirror Armor, always the preferred bring against Diancie, just to bounce back the Mystical Fire. And now he can roost it off. So he just roosts that off. And then Sid goes into the Mew and lays up the T-Spikes again, anticipating the Corviknight to just U-turn, which makes sense. But now the Ninetales is in, the Hail is back up, and the Arctozolt is once again threatening. He can't just switch it in right away, however. Probably not wanting to take T-Spike. So he goes ahead and goes into Corviknight first to defog those spikes away, as Sid gets a free Zapdos. And now we'll see what the Zapdos wants to do. It subs up again, and the Aurora Veil is still up. He crits through the Veil with a Thunderbolt, but it still doesn't do much. And then he reveals that he is the mixed Sharp Beak Brave Bird set, doing an absolute chunk to Spadef Clefable, probably anticipating that it would be able to beat the Zapdos 1v1. But yeah, Zapdos actually gets rid of Clefable there. Namu brings out the Ninetales, and then doubles out to the Arctozolt on the Roost. So very good play there. He gets basically a free kill right here, and it's going to be the Zapdos. Zapdos goes down. Sid sends in his one Pokemon left that can take a hit, which is Mew, so he just gets some Ice Beam chip, as Namu not wanting to risk the burn. Taunts there, but Sid just needs this thing to die to its own Life Orb, but sadly he gets crit by the Bolt Beak. But it's okay, as the Diancie reveals Protect, and he goes for the Rocks there, which was a very smart play, because Namu could have chosen to save this Arctozolt, still has one good hit left in it, and get up the Hail and get another kill. But going for Rocks denied that, and I guess Namu, perhaps anticipating the Rocks, just went for the Bolt Beak to finish it off and get the double down. So now it's Decidueye, Mr. Postbox over here, versus the world. And this is where Sid reveals his master plan. It's all been going according to his master plan, which is to spread status on every single one of Namu's Pokemon and clean the game with Specs, Hex, Decidueye. Once again, this is where Namu's lack of Ghost Resists and susceptibility to status comes in, as Sid very well took advantage of this, both in the builder and in the game, playing everything towards this endgame, Absolutely fantastic game. Honestly, super well played on both sides. This was a real spectacle to watch. But yeah, that's going to be the game. And actually, some of you might know that this game was covered by my good pal Adrian on his channel. And so yeah, Adrian already provided his expert commentary, so I feel like what I should do is commentate another game to make up for it. You know, it's what the people want. They want more content. So you know what? I will give them what they want. Yeah, we have another Week 5 game. So I will say that Week 5 had a lot of good games. Very well fought on both sides, and yeah, just a lot of players putting in their best efforts. I love to see it. So it was kind of a shame when I found out I wouldn't be able to commentate Christian versus Kyra. But you know what? Now I can. So this is the Miami Walreins versus the Volk Aronas. Obviously, Christian versus Kyra for Week 5. And looking at the matchup, Christian decided to bring Coco, Amoonguss, Aerodactyl, the Corsola Galar, Scizor, and Infernape. So he elected to bench, I know at least he benched Slowbro. Hold on. There's the rosters. Yeah, at least benched Slowbro. He also benched the Hydreigon, which is super interesting because I feel like Kyra doesn't really have a switch into Hydreigon. Slowbro bench definitely makes sense in my opinion, loses to all her Pokemon. He did bring Corsola, which I always feel like Corsola is a useless Pokemon. But at least I guess it can sort of check Volcarona by Rock Tombing it over and over. But yeah, I feel like it's just going to get knocked, it's going to get toxic. I never liked this Pokemon. Yeah. He also brought the Tapu Koko, which is interesting considering that Kyra has both Mega Venusaur and Gliscor, which usually would hard counter it. I would expect that he's brought something like either Weakness Policy or Brave Bird to take advantage of Coco's common switch-ins. He does have Amoonguss, which I guess fair enough, can spore things maybe. Probably not if the Gliscor's Toxic Orb is going to be activated, but I don't know, I guess it's a fair bring. Aerodactyl looks super threatening in this matchup. The one answer, I guess, is Slowbro, but that can get crunched, Gliscor can get Ice Fanged, and everything else, literally everything else, gets Dual Wing Beated, or I guess Diancie gets Iron Headed, right? He did bring Scizor, which I think Scizor has a good matchup here as well. And Infernape definitely makes sense as well. On Kyra's end, Weavile definitely looks threatening, with Christian's answer being the Scizor. Gliscor looks like a super big threat. Nothing really breaks it outside of Aerodactyl. And then there's Diancie, which Diancie might be like some sort of sleeper offensive threat, actually, because if she runs an offensive set on this, Christian is going to have some trouble switching into its coverage. Slowbro or Slowking definitely had to bring it. It's like the primary answer to Aerodactyl. Venusaur, good for Coco, good for Amoonguss. Yeah, I can see why she brought it. And Volcarona is, I don't know, maybe Volcarona won't do much with the Aerodactyl there, but we'll see. So let's get right into it. Christian decides to lead with Scizor versus Diancie, so definitely a good lead matchup. I am very, very surprised that Kyra elected to switch into Gliscor there, as if I was Christian, I would probably just click knockoff, expecting the switch out. But yeah, knocking off Gliscor's Toxic Orb would have been pretty bad for Kyra, but she goes for the risky move, and it looks like it might pay out because she does reveal the Fire Fang. So this Gliscor is built to answer the Scizor, and now that SD has been for waste. In comes the Corsola. I don't know what this thing's gonna do. I guess it gets up some rocks as the Gliscor gets a free SD, but then the Corsola reveals Haze. So maybe this Gliscor actually won't be able to break the Corsola, as Kyra does decide to switch out into Venusaur here, and now this Venusaur can do all sorts of shenanigans like Leech Seed, like whatever. I guess it just Toxics into the Scizor, and I don't know why it didn't Mega. Oh, I guess it was a mistake. It was a mistake that she didn't Mega. Christian goes for the sub again. I'm not sure what he's trying to accomplish here, because he's revealed 3 out of 4 moves, and it's very clear that this Scizor cannot touch the Gliscor. So definitely might be in trouble versus this thing. But yeah, I guess he's going to continue spamming Strength Sap. These things are going to run out eventually, I think. But yeah, for now, he has a pseudo answer to the Gliscor in Corsola. Then Kyra finally gets her rocks up. I feel like she should have done that earlier, just to continue to rack up that chip on Koko, on Scizor, Corsola, and especially the Aerodactyl. The Scizor dual wing beats once again. Oh, okay, I think I now get what Christian's Scizor was meant to do. It was meant to sub on the Volcarona switch and then dual wing beat to kill it. That's like a pretty cool idea in theory, but yeah, Kyra revealed that she did have the Gliscor right there. And also, Volcarona could have very well just flame body burned the first one and then lived the second one. But yeah. So I guess Aerodactyl is in. It's in a very threatening situation. Oh, I'm gonna ignore this for now. And Kyra's answer is shown to be Diancie, so we'll see if this has Iron Head. He Roosts, and then Power Gem breaks the sub through Roost. It looks like it does not have Iron Head, or he definitely would have clicked it there. But he goes into Amoonguss on the Diancie and actually takes a lot. Then he doubles out to Scizor on the Venusaur. Pretty good play. And dual wing beat misses. And then yeah, bullet punch into the Gliscor. That was a very cool sequence of plays, honestly. Maybe Kyra didn't live the dual wing beat, so she wanted to get the weaker bullet punch into the Gliscor so she could roost up. But yeah, now this thing is free to SD in Amoonguss' face, get some good chip, and it is Clear Smog. I feel like if it wasn't, Christian might have been in some trouble there. But yeah, I guess this Gliscor is back to neutral. It's back to Corsola versus Gliscor and all these boring shenanigans. But Weavile finally comes in, and now there is a free knock. A free knock. That Scizor's leftovers gone. It's revealed all 4 moves, no Roost. So this Scizor is essentially dead. No recovery left. Christian is going to have to sack it here. And that was the primary Weavile response. So things are actually looking pretty good for Kyra, as Christian sends in the Aerodactyl, I guess to threaten the Gliscor with Ice Fang, but taking rocks in the process. And then pulls a double, probably expecting something like Diancie to come out, and I guess he got it correct. And then he pulls another double into the Koko, expecting the Venusaur probably. Expecting the Venusaur and wanting to catch it with a Brave Bird. But unfortunately, he gets the Gliscor instead. And now, Corsola is back in. Kyra gets a free Weavile. I'm actually surprised. She didn't, like, fear Wisp on this. Well, I guess now she definitely does not have to fear Wisp, seeing last move Power Gem do 30 to the Weavile. But yeah, now Christian switches into Infernape, I guess, wanting to take a hit from Weavile, but then Kyra actually doubles into Diancie. And this is definitely not a favorable matchup for Christian. He's gonna want to get out of there, as Diancie throws off a hard Psychic, smacking that Amoonguss, and it's able to throw off another one. And yeah, now Christian sees that this Diancie is going to be very problematic to switch into. But for the time being, it looks like the Corsola is still able to heal on it, but he's going to have to take some damage on his Koko. And now the Koko reveals the Iron Head, and it KOs the Diancie. That was absolutely huge, because I feel like if that didn't happen, or if Kyra somehow like looked into her third eye and scouted for the Iron Head, that game was completely a wrap. Christian's team would have definitely long-term lost to that Diancie, but because of his Iron Head tech, he was able to save the game. And now things are definitely a little more even, I would say, as he's going to be able to go into Aerodactyl on the Earthquake, or I guess another SD. He's going to roost up here on Fire Fang and sees that it does basically sub damage, so I guess he's going to try to sub up, but Kyra knows that she must break the sub, so she goes for another SD. Very nice play there, as now this Gliscor is max attack but cannot really touch the arrow, and then goes for Earthquake. I feel like she should have probably roosted there, unless she was fearing like setup Hone Claws or something. But yeah, I guess she kind of got greedy and wanted to catch the Aerodactyl going for roost, but it didn't work out. So down goes the Gliscor. That's a huge threat to Christian's team gone. Yeah, along with Diancie, Gliscor, and Weavile are probably the biggest threats, and two of them are gone. Now Corsola comes in again, doing its stupid Corsola things. As we'll see if this Slowking has Toxic or anything. I guess it just throws off a few Scalds, trying to get some burns. And here, Kyra is finally able to get in her Venusaur and heal it back up. So that's going to be pretty big, as she definitely wants this Venusaur healthy for that Amoonguss, for that Koko in the back. And now she gets a Toxic on the arrow, so this arrow is definitely dead. But it's able to get off a nice smack on Slowking before going down to the helmet. And now Koko comes out, and Kyra goes into Venusaur here. And so I guess she didn't really have another play. She definitely needed the Slowking, otherwise she would lose to Infernape. And even if she knew the Brave Bird was coming, it was either Venusaur or Volcarona had to get sacked. And I guess at this point she thought, okay, Volcarona still has potential to win the game here. And yeah, speaking of Volcarona, it comes out right here, but she doesn't scout for the Stone Edge. So I guess Christian's set is probably Scarf Stone Edge. It's what I would bring if I had to fight a Volcarona, just to be able to have something to revenge at +1. But yeah, Kyra just kind of sacks it, and now goes into the Slowking, which maybe the Slowking didn't take a hit before, and that's why. But now it's kind of looking dire for Kyra, as the Corsola finally goes down, the Slowking gets disabled, and actually it's looking pretty good for Kyra, because nothing can break the Slowking besides this Amoonguss, and this Amoonguss has been teleported on into Weavile. So now Christian basically has to either hard Infernape and hope that it lives, hope that it lives like triple axle or whatever. But even if it does, then all Kyra has to do is go into Slowking. And if she does that, then it will die to helmet. It's Weavile versus Amoonguss again, and Weavile should be able to finish the job. So it's looking like game over for Christian right here, as all the Weavile has to do is click the ice move, kill the Amoonguss or the Infernape, and then it should be game over. But instead, Kyra clicks knockoff! No! Why did she click knockoff? Yeah, so the knockoff actually does not KO the Amoonguss. The Amoonguss is able to get off a Spore, and then it 1v1s the Weavile. So, yeah, this Amoonguss is definitely going to win the game now, because it's going to be able to Spore the Slowking. Then after that, a couple more Giga Drains finishes the job. Honestly, Kyra definitely choked there, I think. Throughout the whole game, she showed fantastic play, fantastic prep. There were definitely a few misplays in, I guess, sacking the Gliscor, maybe the Diancie, like, you couldn't have seen the Iron Head coming, sure, fair enough. But that Weavile was definitely an unfortunate choke. Totally happens, I guess, happened earlier in the season as well. But yeah, very well played and very well prepped on both sides. I think Christian definitely opened himself up to be more vulnerable in his prep, especially like with the Scizor set there. But he was still able to pull out a good win. And yeah, super cool to see both of these players doing well in their season, and yeah, learning how to play the game. So great game, and we'll move on to the next one. Alright, let's get right back into it with the next game of the week. This is for week 5. No, this is for week 6. And to be honest, I had a real hard time. Finding a game that was worthy to be covered this week. Y'all gotta step up the quality of the games. But yeah, jokes aside, this is between Steel-type Eltai 4 coaching the Moltres' strongest soldiers, and Namu, of course, coaching the Polis. We saw him take a pretty rough L to Sid last week in a close but very good game, and we'll see if he can bounce back this week against Simon. So, oh yeah, I guess I forgot to talk about the team preview, but I think it's pretty standard. Namu has brought his defensive core, especially with a Clefable, going to be the primary check to the Dragapult, and Goodra probably there, along with Slowbro to handle the Nidoking, and the Mamoswine also being handled by the Slowbro and the Corviknight. Primarina actually does look very tough for this team to deal with, and on Simon's side, the Nidoking will probably be the biggest threat to Namu's team, especially if he can get rocks up and continuously chip away at that Goodra, maybe T-Spikes as well, to wear it down. And yeah, also, like I said, the Primarina also going to be a huge threat. The Mamoswine, I'm not sure what he'd do here. He'd probably have to run some sort of set that can bait the Slowbro or the Corviknight, or as we see right here, he just leads it, so it might just be a Sash Rocks lead. And yeah, we do see the Mamoswine into the Slowbro. The Slowbro Mega Evolves, probably fearing banded attacks from this Mamoswine, as the Mamoswine does stay in and it does get up rocks. So we see the Scald come out, it does not burn. This reveals to be Leftovers Mamoswine. As Simon switches out into the Dragapult, this Dragapult can just fire off a Shadow Ball. I see no reason not to, as the Slowbro reveals Protect. So if he does figure out that this is Choice Dragapult, that could be a valuable move to have. But the Dragapult just U-turns out, and Namu, he could have stayed in there, like hard calling the Choice, but he could also go into this Corviknight, which I think is the safer play, just in case this is not Choice Dragapult. So Simon, he does click U-turn again, and it does rack up the Rocky Helmet chip. So yeah, definitely a good play to fish for the chip there, as well as scout for potential non-choice Dragapult. Simon does get to bring in the Primarina though, and we'll see what this wants to do. If this is choiced, it can't easily lock itself into any one move. So yeah, I guess he protects, scouting for that, but it turns out to be sub leftovers. So maybe we'll see the sub CM here. Yep, we do, as the Clefable reveals to be unaware, so that is huge. That means that this Clefable is his stop to this Primarina. And we also see Liquid Voice, Hyper Voice come out there from Simon. I'm not sure what that's for, honestly. I feel like you should just run Torrent. Yeah, the benefit of Hyper Voice is that it goes through sub and whatnot, but I don't see anyone here that would want to do anything like that. But it does look like this Primarina is being hard-walled by the Clefable, which, that's pretty interesting. Simon needs a way to get a Toxic onto this, so that the Primarina can 1v1 it. But he does hard into the Nidoking as the Clefable throws off a Wish. So yeah, Namu should go into his Nidoking response, the Goodra, and it will also absorb the attack along with the rocks via the Wish. So the Nidoking just throws off Thunderbolt, I guess predicting Slowbro, which is fair. And the Goodra throws off an Ice Beam, doing a lot to that Weezing. And it just does it again, and the Weezing gets frozen. So if it didn't get frozen, it probably could have Pain Splitted the Goodra to take another Ice Beam, as well as chipping this down. But instead, yeah, it's not going to be able to do anything. So Simon actually decides to preserve that Weezing and go into the Mamoswine, which does take the Ice Beam, probably Thick Fat. And do we see an Endeavor come out? We do not. We see Ice Shard for some reason. Yeah, I'm not too sure what that was about. I guess he was afraid of being outsped. But yeah, if he revealed Endeavor there, that would have been huge. Instead, he sacks the Weezing to the Slowbro Scald, which, if that didn't kill, I guess he thought out, but that was definitely always killing. And now he goes into the Slurpuff, getting up the webs, which I think is kind of an odd play considering that the Corviknight is still alive, and able to defog these hazards away. He does go for Endeavor on the Corvi switch. He's sticky webbing. What is going on, man? Okay, so he defogs there. He gets up the sticky web. The Corviknight is going for Roost. Oh, I see what's going on. So he's trying to get the Endeavor play right, because if he Endeavors on the defog turn, then the Corviknight will be essentially dead. Yeah. And the Corviknight is trying to Roost to prevent that. So he Endeavors, and do we see the Roost? Oh, goes for U-turn! So he got him. He got the webs up and the Corviknight is low. That was a really huge sequence of plays for Simon there. I guess, I don't know if I should call it skillful or being lucky that he got out of it with everything that he needed. But yeah, now webs are up. This Nidoking is looking like even bigger of a threat. And the Primarina, yeah, the Primarina is still walled by the Clefable though, so he needs some way to make progress on that. And the Corviknight, now being slower than everything, unable to defog, just gets sacked. Namu goes into the Grimmsnarl, which reveals to be Trick Lagging Tail. It's a pretty funny set. But it kind of gets wasted on the 10% Mammo there. And now the Primarina comes back in. And it continues to go for sub. It's probably not the play. I feel like you should go into Nidoking now. As he does, just go into Nidoking, but this time on the Wish. So he can bring in Goodra, and yeah, that's all his damage gone. So now he can go back into the Primarina, probably his only safe switch into a Dragon or Ice move. And it throws off an Ice Beam, doing a decent amount with a crit, but the Goodra fires back with a Sludge Bomb. And now this Primarina is poisoned, it will definitely lose to the Clefable. Oh, unless? Unless? Okay, I guess now it doesn't definitely lose to the Clefable, since it got frozen. So Nidoking comes in and it just claims, holy crap, it just claims that Slowbro. One hit KO'd. And the Goodra comes out to wall it, as Simon has to pick a sack here. So he sacks the 8% Primarina, makes sense. And then he goes into the Dragapult. So the Dragapult probably has to click Shadow Ball here. If he clicks Draco, Namu just goes into one of his fairies. And he's pretty sure that it's choiced at this point, I'm pretty sure. So he does click Draco. Now the play should be to double, as he does double into the Nidoking on the Clefable switch in. And he Earth Powers there. Not sure why he Earth Powers when Sludge Wave is free. But yeah, the Clefable goes down. Out comes the Goodra again. So he just Ice Beams into the Ice Beam. The Ice Beam does not kill Nidoking, so he's free to fire off another Sludge Wave. As we actually see him go into the Darmanitan on the Earth Power. So that Darmanitan just got obliterated. If it was Scarf Darm, then he definitely threw that. But if it wasn't Scarf Darm, then I guess this Nidoking kind of won regardless. It kind of won once the Goodra could not 1v1 it. But he did just toss out that Darm on the Earth Power. I guess Earth Power was a fair play for that exact scenario. If Sludge Wave did not kill it and it still killed everything else, then yeah, Earth Power was a fair play. Out comes the Grimmsnarl. We'll see if this Grimmsnarl can tank a Sludge Wave, as it reveals Light Screen. So yes, it does tank one Sludge Wave, but it will not be able to eat another one. And now this Goodra is the last Pokemon, and it falls to an Ice Beam. So if this Darmanitan was Scarf, I think they revealed in the chat that it was, then the play was probably to sack the Goodra, bring out the Darm, and attack. And if the Nidoking goes down and the Dragapult takes out the Darm, then Lastmon Grimmsnarl would be able to take out the Dragapult. Overall though, yeah, this was a pretty cool game. Nice to see Simon pick up his first win. And yeah, I guess not much else to say about this game. Let's move on to Week 7. We have Simon back again. At this point, he is already out of contention for playoffs. But yeah, he's still playing his game, and he is against Boo. Boo having the scary looking hyper offense team, and Simon bringing his, classic guys, Lopunny, Dragapult. No Nidoking this time, and yeah, honestly, it looks like Lopunny will probably be a pretty big threat, as Boo does not really have resists for it. And on his side, it seems like the flying spam core of Staraptor and Pinsir will really be a big issue for Simon. Also, the Tyranitar probably having no solid rock resists is kind of tough. And also the Darmanitan probably having no solid ice resists is also tough. Yeah, this is probably going to be a very, very fast-paced game, as neither team really has long-term defensive answers for the other. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. We see the Lopunny lead into the Staraptor. Simon has some weird names over here. Last week he had some Homestuck names, which, to be honest, they were pretty cool. The Staraptor does not reveal Intimidate, so it's probably not going to be any sort of defensive set. The Lopunny probably just fakes it out right here, as it does over half with a crit, and the Staraptor staying in likely signifies that it's going to be Scarf. We'll see. Oh, it is Scarf, and Simon just tossed away his Lopunny. I guess fair enough, he had no other switch-ins. But the Mamoswine comes out, and it rocks on the switch. Very good play by Simon there, as this Staraptor, being the only possible defogger on Boo's team, is now going to be dead to the rocks. Boo goes into Darmanitan, which I don't really know about this play, as this Mamoswine should probably be thick, fat, and able to chew these Icicle Crashes, as we see it does. But it does get flinched, and another one comes out, and he knocks off the Choice Band. But that means that the Darm can now switch up moves. I guess it chooses not to. So it crashes again, and it does not flinch this time, meaning that the Flamethrower could pick it off. Now the Dugtrio comes out. I'm not sure what Dugtrio is doing here. It agilities up for some reason. Yeah, I'm really not sure what this set is supposed to do. I think even at 20%, there is no Dugtrio set that can really touch the Wheezing, which could probably just, wisp it. It Earthquakes for some reason, maybe hoping for a switch out. Yeah, I'm really not sure what this Dugtrio is meant to accomplish. It is a reversal set, but yeah, I'm really not sure how he was planning to get into a range where reversal would have done any sort of significant damage. So, yeah, definitely a worse position for Boo there. He kind of threw for the content. Losing him on and having Wheezing more healthy with a Toxic Spike up compared to before he sent it out. Now he goes into the Magnezone, which should just throw off a Flash Cannon. It's pretty free, as Simon decides to just, I guess not sack this, but instead, let Boo get up the light screen, and then sack it. So the Slurpuff comes out. This Magnezone is such a whack set, man. It's like Light Clay dual screens. But the webs are up now, and this Magnezone is, yeah, the Magnezone is dead. So the Mamoswine comes back in, which I think is a good play into both the Pinsir and the Tyranitar. And we see that the Pinsir still outspeeds for some reason. The Pinsir still outspeeds, and it just body slams the Mamoswine there. But Galarian Moltres is going to come out, and I think this is some sort of physical set. Oh, the Tyranitar reveals to be Lum, so that poison will not be chipping at it. Could potentially be pretty big. This Tyranitar, the way it's being played, is probably set up, which it is. It decides to D-Dance there and cancel out the webs. We'll see what can this Dragapult really do to the Tyranitar. It probably can't do much unless it's Wisp. Oh, it's Surf. And we see no weakness. Oh yeah, it's not weakness policy because it's Lum. But is there any move that this Moltres can now lock into to defeat both the Pinsir and the Tyranitar? Maybe if it's a Steel Wing, it would be able to do it. As we do see the Steel Wing come out, but it's not enough to kill. But the Stone Edge misses. But okay, the Steel Wing connects onto the Tyranitar, and now it's all up to the Pinsir. And the Steel Wing does also miss in return. And now the Moltres definitely being put in range of any priority this Pinsir might have. We'll see if he reveals it. And he does reveal the Quick Attack. So, pretty crazy game. The Steel Wing miss, obviously kind of making up for the Stone Edge miss from earlier. Yeah, very close game, resulting in a 2% poison Pinsir. Very cool to see the physical Moltres come out from Simon there, as well as some interesting sets on Boo's part. Now, moving on to the final week of the regular season. We have, again, another week where I had some trouble picking out some good games. But, whatever, you know. We'll take a look at this one between Adrian and Namu. Adrian coaching the Sylvichu with a lot of changes to his team compared to the beginning of the season, and it seems like those changes have been working out pretty well for him. His losses are a lot closer, and his wins, well, he's gotten some wins. On the other hand, Namu having a severe losing streak from earlier. Yeah, we'll see if he can redeem himself in this match against Adrian. Should be a pretty good one. So we see the Jirachi lead into the Slowbro, and the Jirachi Calm Minds up. This was an interesting bring, seeing as Jirachi potentially has the coverage for all of his Pokemon. You know, Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, Moonblast, also for his dragons that he didn't bring, Moonblast for the Hoopa, Shadow Ball. But of course, if it's running Calm Mind, then it cannot fit all of those coverage moves. So it Calm Minds again, actually, as the Hoopa comes out. And the Jirachi gets forced out, which means that it probably does not have coverage for this, or it's fearing the Scarf Hoopa. And the Hoopa just fires off a Shadow Ball. That does a decent amount. But this Hippowdon does live, so it could either, you know, assume Choiced and just slack off, or it could scout for a potential Energy Ball coming out. And the Hoopa does just Grass Knot, so it reveals non-choiced, and the Hippowdon, one of Adrian's best walls, is down. Though, to be honest, Hippowdon was not as useful with Zygarde not being brought, but it did deter Bolt Beak spam from the Arctozolt, which would have been important. So now the Gallade comes out on the Hoopa. Namu, expecting a knock, goes into the Slowbro, as the Gallade does fire off the super effective knockoff. Of course, since the Slowbro is Mega, this does not actually do too much damage, and now Namu doubles into the Grimmsnarl. I'm not sure what he was expecting there. Maybe the Latios to come out, actually. Latios on the Slowbro would have made sense, and Adrian switches into the Volcanion, potentially trying to absorb a Scald from the Slowbro. So now this Volcanion gets up a substitute, and it's looking a lot more threatening, and it gets a Toxic on the Slowbro that will be good for helping out Gallade. Now it fires off a Steam Eruption into the Clefable, and a follow-up Flamethrower actually takes it out. And now on this turn, Namu goes hard into the Arctozolt. So it seems pretty clear that this is going to be Scarf Arctozolt, as no other set would make sense to bring out here. If it's Aqua Berry, I'm pretty sure because the Volcanion outspeeds, then the Bolt Beak will not then kill afterwards. And also Aqua Berry just seems like a very weird bring here. Scarf definitely is sensible, and now that Adrian has lost his Hippowdon, Bolt Beak would be very, very free. So Adrian decides to switch into the Latios, and the Arctozolt revealing non-scarfed. Absolute bluff of the century. Clicking substitute on the Volcanion switch out into the Latios, and now that it's behind a sub, it gets a free attack off, chooses to Icicle Crash the Latios in front of it as Adrian goes back into the Volcanion. Icicle Crash misses, not a big deal. And then Flamethrower as the Bolt Beak crits the Volcanion. That probably mattered, but I'm not sure what kind of spreads they're running. But yeah, the Volcanion goes down after the very, very gutsy play on Namu's part with the Arctozolt. So Latios now comes back in, looking at his team. Well, Grimmsnarl is probably a free switch, assuming that he's built it to deal with the Latios. So he does go into that, but the Latios tricks it a Specs, so very good play on Adrian's part, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to bring it back for him after the Volcanion and the Hippo both went down. So now he goes into the Jirachi, pretty much hoping that the Grimmsnarl goes for a Fairy move, I guess, because it could have also locked itself into a Dark move, which is extremely free versus Adrian's team, but it does work out as he tries to Calm Mind up again here, but this Hoopa, revealing to be Assault Vest, is going to hard wall this Jirachi. Yeah, seems like Adrian just did not bring enough prep for this Hoopa. And we see the knockoff into the Slowbro as Adrian getting up a Sword Stance. This is going to be his last chance to win the game, his last ditch effort. Taking out the Slowbro. And then Corviknight comes out. This Corviknight will take a lot from close combat as it roosts off the damage, but it will not be enough to live another one as the Corviknight goes down. So Gallade putting in some work there, trading for pretty much 2 entire Pokemon. But now this Hoopa has nothing that can defeat it. You know, this leftovers Latios not going to be able to touch it. And the Vaporeon, last Pokemon Vaporeon, even if it takes out this Hoopa, it will not be able to beat the Arctozolt. So the Hoopa just Thunderbolts as the Vaporeon, pretty much playing for differential here, throws off a Wish, but it reveals to be no Protect, so I guess for Move Slot Syndrome, he did not fit Protect, and as such, Namu is going to be able to win this game with the Hoopa 3-0 against Adrian. You know, not a very high stakes match, but it did have some pretty cool plays in it, and I'm glad that I could show this one off. So, with all that being said, we have now covered every single week's Game of the Week. We are now going to get into the standings. Alright, here we go. At the very top, we have Random, kind of lucking out with an easier schedule, as well as a very, very scary team. Obviously, props to him for drafting his team, but again, I feel like this team was extremely top-heavy, and his opponents did not really take advantage of that fact. But yeah, Random, he's been consistently improving throughout the season, pretty solid player, and he has earned the first seed in playoffs. And in second seed, surprise, it's actually Broken Motor, who has, up until week 7, remained undefeated, even taking down Random and his Skeld team. He lost in week 7 to Jesus in the probably the biggest upset of the league so far. Jesus, you know, coaching the attack on Tyranitar, having a pretty tough season in the beginning, but later on picking up some big wins, especially against Broken Motor. But Broken Motor, you know, still having a very scary team and being a pretty skilled player, has earned his way into the second seed of playoffs. And then third, we have Ray and the Shadow Zatus. Ray taking losses to Namu in week 4, and who do you lose to in week 7? Let me see. Oh yeah, he got 6-0'd by Random in week 7. That was a game, I would say, that was a game where Kyurem kind of absolutely destroyed his team. But yeah, still very solid season from him. All his wins have been quite dominating, I would say. That's kind of due to the nature of his team and the way he plays, which is very, very balance-like, and can result in a lot of his opponents just getting walled. But yeah, very good season from him. He is the 3rd seed in playoffs. And in the 4th spot, we have Mr. Banana Thief coaching the youngster Joey. You know, Banana Thief has had a kind of up and down season, but overall his record is extremely solid. His Mega Mawile has been very key in carrying his team, to say the least, honestly. Yeah, he is the 4th seed in playoffs. And in the 5th seed, we have Wise Guy and the Miami Walreins. This draft, I definitely rated this draft very high, and he's had some good games throughout the season. I would say in the middle of the season, he kinda played a little sus, you know, taking 2 losses, as well as having a very, very close game versus Kyra, which it's kind of a shame that I couldn't cover, because that was honestly a great game. But yeah, overall, he still had a great season, finishing it out at 6-2. And also at 6-2, we have Boo, who pretty much had a near undefeated season after taking his first loss in week 1. And that loss was to Ray, which that game was kind of crazy. He kind of threw on turn 2 by tossing out his Mega Pinsir, but despite that, they were able to have a pretty good game. And of course, losing to another top player is not something to be ashamed of. So yeah, great season, Boo, and he will be the 6th seed in playoffs. In 7th seed, we have Namu coaching Polis. After being the single most dominating team for the first 4 weeks, found himself in a 3-week losing streak, and then in the final week, he decided to pull it together. And I remember this man went through an entire training phase. He went through an entire training phase to come back and win that last week. He is the 7th seed in playoffs, and yeah, we'll see how he does. We'll see if his training paid off. And last but certainly not least, we have Blurg and his Yveltal imposters. This man, I swear, this man was aiming for the 8th seed this whole time. Sid, he's had quite honestly the most phenomenal and easy to talk about games in the entire league. There's a reason why so many of the Game of the Weeks or Blurg of the Weeks have featured his team. Yeah, dude has some wild prep and a really fun team. And he will be, of course, the 8th seed in playoffs. But I definitely don't want to skip over or just undersell any of the people who did not end up making playoffs, because they have each had their own journey and their own story as they've, played this season in our league. So in 9th place, we have Kyra and the Volcaronas. Now Kyra, she's had an up and down season, but she was very close to making it right there at the end. And I guess unfortunately lost to Boo and did not make playoffs, but still I think she did a pretty good job. And yeah, especially for someone being fairly new to Pokemon or competitive Pokemon, I think that she's improved a lot. So yeah, good job. And next up we have Jesus and the attack on Tyranitar. Jesus has definitely had some funny games this season, including pulling off the biggest or probably biggest upset in CPL history, defeating the once undefeated Broken Motor and his single strikers in week 7. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, he's had a very rough season in the beginning, but in the end, he managed to pull off some pretty good wins. So, you know what? Proud of you, man. You did good. And yeah, moving on, we have Proj, who also had a pretty average season, where I think he just threw on some very powerful Pokemon, went into his games, and started playing. Which, you know what? Fair enough. One thing that I do know is that I know he's improved a lot since he was playing in this league, so I look forward to seeing what you got in Season 2, man. And next up, we have Adrian coaching the Silvachu. Adrian has had a kind of disappointing season. I guess he kind of did get stuck with a mediocre team, but yeah, also transitioning from doubles to singles must have been pretty tough, but I think he's done a pretty good job. So yeah, Adrian, I mean, I've seen him improve as well. I know this guy is fire in the builder, you know. He cooks up the meanest of spreads. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what you can do again in season 2. And next up we have Sunny. Sunny definitely on one of the weaker teams with the Sinnoh Soldiers, but you know what? This guy has been consistently one of the most positive dudes in the league. Every week he just goes in there and has fun, which that is super admirable to me, man. Yeah, I'm glad that you've really enjoyed this league, and yeah, especially enough that you're wanting to come back for season 2. So you know what? Maybe season 2 will be your season. I really hope you pop off, man, because you deserve it. Yeah, next up we have Simon, and alright, I guess I shouldn't have ignored that warning because my laptop died. But anyways, yeah, next up we have Simon. So, yeah, Simon, Mr. Unfortunate does not even begin to describe my season. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I feel like a lot of Simon's losses could have been wins, so his record is not really reflective of how his season actually went. But I guess a few misplays coupled with quite a generous amount of hacks, and his team ends up at 1-7. So, you know, Simon, I know you can do better, and I know you want to do better, so here's hoping for a better season in season 2. Next up, Sam and the Litwicks. You know, yeah, I feel like bad that this kind of didn't work out, and you had to drop later in the season. I know, like, it probably wasn't very fun taking like multiple losses week after week, and I know you got busy and things like that. But I guess I am glad that you did get to experience Draft League at least for a little bit, because I know that you have been wanting to try it. So yeah, best of luck to you, man, wherever you are. And last but not least, Crimson and the Knights of Distortion. Yeah, another case of just kind of being unfortunate. I mean, Crimson, I'm glad that you did get to try out our league, and hopefully you did have fun in the weeks that you played. I know you said you wanted to get kind of more into competitive, and yeah, I guess you got a little taste. You're more than welcome to come back for season 2, but only if you wish to. So yeah, I guess best of luck to you as well. Yeah, that wraps up just about everything outside of playoffs, and here is pretty much where I'm going to end the video. But before I do, I want to say huge thank you to everyone who played in the league. You know, whether you're in playoffs and fought for the championship, or whether you're one of the people who kind of lost steam midway through the season. I mean, either way, the league wouldn't be here without you. So this was kind of my dream in a sense, that I wanted our school to have this community where we can have our own draft league, and it's all thanks to everyone who played that this was possible. So once again, thank you all, and yeah, let's get hyped for season 2. Oh yeah, one last thing. If this video gets 10 likes, I'll upload playoffs. But yeah, that's it. See you next time.